Tonight, breaking news, students get ready to return to the classroom full-time in Melbourne amid large crowds at retail stores right across Victoria as restrictions ease, as some families escape to the country ahead of the Melbourne Cup in just over 48 hours. It's Sunday the 31st of October. You're watching 6 News also tonight.
For me, a relationship which required declaration would have had more status in my mind, and I was very uncertain as to the status of that relationship.
icac set to resume after phone calls made between ex-New South Wales Premier Gladys berejiklian and disgraced former MP Darryl Maguire were played. We'll recap the key developments and let you know what to expect tomorrow morning. And the clean-up continues amid reports of ongoing power issues after heavy rain, thunder, lightning and especially that wind hit Victoria and South Australia. Tonight we've got new footage of the damage and a look at the conditions expected tomorrow nationwide. Good evening everyone, thanks for tuning in. Later this hour we'll bring you a pretty big announcement about us that will change the way we deliver news to you. Plus Tonga reports their first COVID case ever. Heard that right. What that means for the island nation of just over 100,000 people, with just over 30% of their population fully vaccinated. But first tonight, students are getting ready to return to the classroom full-time, and plenty of parents are celebrating the end of remote learning in Melbourne after restrictions were eased to mark 80% of the eligible population becoming fully vaccinated. Large crowds at retail stores right across Victoria were seen following months of online shopping, while masks can now be taken off outdoors. Some families go on to regional areas for the weekend ahead of the Melbourne Cup in just over 48 hours, while others are staying put as both metro and rural areas are united as one under the exact same rules. Reporter Lincoln Holmes begins our special coverage.
It's taken over 75 days, but finally normal life slowly begins to return to Melbourne. At 6 p.m. local time on Friday, retail shops, cinemas and gyms opened to hundreds of excited shoppers who waited outside before the rules had even come into effect. Everything but essential stores like supermarkets has been closed in Metro Melbourne since early August, when the sixth lockdown began. Currently both vaccinated and unvaccinated people can shop, but that will change when we hit the 90% double dose mark, where almost all restrictions will lift.
You will have to be vaccinated, because the virus doesn't much care what you're going shopping for. It just doesn't, and you will spread it. You will make the job of our nurses harder. And if you're choosing to not be vaccinated, well, that is the wrong choice to make. I hope, and we'll play our part in this, like a month before your 6 months is up, then you will get a message, and your vaccination certificate, the thing that gets you the green tick, you'll be prompted to go and book a time to go and have your booster shot. There may be state clinics in that, or it might be all done through GPs and pharmacy. That hasn't been worked through yet. We're happy to play our part though. So it'll be about the maintenance of your vaccination status.
Proof of vaccination or a valid reason not to have the jab is needed across most places. Masks can now be taken off outdoors, but are recommended in high-risk settings where the social distancing rules can't be implemented. While there's also a 75% capacity, a limit of one person per 4 square metres, allowed indoors in seated venues like cinemas. All students across all year levels in Victoria are able to return to in-person learning, and childcare is also back. But that requirement for vaccination hasn't gone down well with some. Yesterday, around 2,000 people protested outside the Victorian Parliament against new proposed pandemic laws, while others marched through the CBD calling for the Premier to be sacked. Other people decided to spend the weekend in regional areas, where tourism operators welcomed them with open arms ahead of Tuesday's Melbourne Cup. Some families choosing to take both Monday and Tuesday off, as the city and the state begins to reopen. Lincoln Holmes, 6 News.
Victoria's daily COVID presses are now a thing of the past. Yesterday was the final scheduled one, and while there will still be press conferences, we just aren't expecting them on a daily basis as we've seen throughout all 6 lockdowns. Like New South Wales, information is now mainly provided via social media posts and media releases from the Department of Health. What are your thoughts on the move? Do you miss press conferences, or rather, will you miss press conferences? Let us know in the comments or on social media by using hashtag 6newsau, or send us an email, contact@6newsau.com. And COVID testing sites have begun to reopen after being forced to temporarily shut down due to Victoria's wild weather. Over 30 clinics and 6 vaccination sites were closed due to the heavy winds. Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton saying the state's health department has contacted people who've got a vaccination schedule that has to be deferred for a little bit, with some obviously having to be postponed and rebooked. We'll have tomorrow's full forecast and more weather coverage later in the bulletin. Australia is edging closer towards 80% of the entire eligible population being fully vaccinated. According to newly released statistics from the federal government, the ACT is leading the way, 95% of people having 1 dose, over 91% having their second. New South Wales has over 87% double dosed, while Western Australia is the lowest at 62. Again, that number is climbing, but as I just said, the lowest in the nation as we've reported before. In terms of vaccines, AstraZeneca, Moderna, Pfizer, all available. Novavax may be available very soon. With Pfizer, that is now set to be part of booster shots for anyone who's taken any of those 3 vaccines, so you can mix and match, and potentially young kids aged 5 to 11. It comes amid new reports stating half, or just over half, of Australia's Indigenous population is fully vaccinated. SBS reporting that that number is creating some concern, especially in remote communities in the Northern Territory, where a vaccine mandate is in place for many workers who have to receive their first dose by November the 12th and their second by December 24. Well, it is obviously Halloween night tonight. New South Wales authorities are encouraging anyone going trick-or-treating to follow a number of guidelines, including keeping celebrations outside, providing closed packaging for treats instead of communal lolly bowls, and consider distributing the treats in the front yard instead of at their door. Kids have been encouraged to keep in their local area and not share Halloween face masks. Again, in Victoria, the message, it's basically the same. Stay outside if you're a door knocker, and stick to the rules. Only 10 visitors inside your home per day. Overseas, New York Fire Department members have continued to protest a COVID vaccine mandate amid fears from officials of staffing shortages and 911 calls going unanswered. It comes as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sues the Biden administration over its no jab, no job policy for federal contractors, and welcomes law enforcement who quit their jobs in other states to move to his. US correspondent Jackson Gosnell has the details.
Leo, we have a lot going on in the U.S., specifically surrounding vaccination mandates, especially with the COVID vaccine. Many firefighters and police officers in New York City went outside the mayor's residence to protest vaccine mandates. Now, it was required by the weekend that city officials turn in proof of at least 1 dose, or they could risk termination. Now, all of this comes as the mayor responds in New York, saying that there are many people who would love to fill those jobs, and he doesn't see it as a problem if they decide to leave. Meanwhile, other vaccine news, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who's one that has been proposed to be maybe a contender for president coming up in the next election, he is suing the Biden administration's vaccination mandate for federal contractors. He says that he believes that President Biden has overstepped his authority by requiring this mandate for federal contractors. A lot of people on both ends on this vaccine situation here in the U.S., many calling for vaccinations to be enforced, others saying leave it up to the person. Now, California school students will be required to have a vaccine if they are eligible in order to go to school. It's the first state that's going to require that. That'll be for both private schools as well. South Carolina has yet to make that announcement, or any other state. We'll be following the latest from here in the U.S. I'm Jackson Gosnell. Back to you.
Tonga has reported their first COVID-19 case ever. The island nation, with a population of just over 100,000 people, just over 30% of them fully vaccinated, has never seen a locally acquired infection since the pandemic began. Other countries saying that, who are still COVID-free, Tonga is no longer, include TOKELAU, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, that is known as a nation by several governments, but also technically dependent territory of New Zealand. The Pitcairn Islands have also never had a case, and their entire population, is fully vaccinated, along with Gibraltar, British territory on Spain's south coast, which has had cases, however. The so-called Hermit Kingdom of North Korea has never officially reported a case or a death, and neither has the European nation of Turkmenistan, though President Gurbanguly Berdimuhammedov has implemented some restrictions. There, a vaccine mandate has been imposed for all eligible citizens, roughly 70% double dose. Similarly, the Federated States of Micronesia has mandated the jab, but has remained COVID-free, though there have been cases at the border not classified as local cases. Their vaccination rate, fully vaccinated rate, is around 8%, so much less than Turkmenistan. Now, in fact, even Antarctica, believe it or not, has had cases. If you recall, 58 in total. They are the last continent, or they were, to have confirmed infections. But back to Tonga, local media reporting the case came from 215 passengers who arrived on a flight from Christchurch on Wednesday. Authorities set to speak about what exactly to do and how to respond sometime tomorrow. We will keep you updated on that closely. Now, moving away from the pandemic, with something also coming up tomorrow, ICAC's public inquiry is set to resume after phone calls made between ex-New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian and disgraced former MP Darryl Maguire were played. In one November 2017 call, Maguire spoke about a multi-million-dollar project for the Riverina Conservatorium of Music and mentioned one senior public servant who was involved in the process. Berejiklian then heard saying she can't stand that guy and his head will be gone soon. The former Premier also maintained that her relationship with Maguire last year, saying that it was close and personal, did not need to be declared. The corruption inquiry had earlier heard the pair had considered having a child together and getting married during their 3-year relationship. Stay tuned for more rolling coverage of ICAC tomorrow. A commission appointed by Sweden's government has found the country acted too slowly to stop the spread of COVID, and preparations to handle a pandemic were inadequate. The preliminary findings found it took far too long to build enough testing capacities, and that authorities mainly relied on voluntary recommendations for people to socially distance and wash their hands to stop large transmission. Sweden has had 15,000 deaths since the pandemic began and has been praised by some for their lack of lockdowns, but also criticised by others who claim their approach failed to stop the spread. Joe Biden has told reporters that Pope Francis told him he was a good Catholic who can receive communion amid debate in the US over the president's support for abortion rights. Now, Biden has previously said he is personally opposed to abortion but cannot impose his views as an elected leader. He says the topic did not come up in his meeting, which lasted an unusually long 1 hour and 15 minutes. Now, if you've questioned about a lack of pictures, well, all photos were released by Vatican media, not taken by White House photographers. For comparison, this was a photo of Obama and the Pope taken by the Associated Press many years back. Now, the decision about photography did reportedly come from the Vatican. Now, on the subject of images, how's this for incredible? Large volumes of pumice stones drifting into a port in southwest Japan. It's believed they were thrown up by an undersea volcano that erupted sometime in August. Officials saying it'll cost around $650,000 to clear it all, and in another village as well, and will likely take around 2 to 3 weeks to do so. Now, pumice is a type of volcanic rock that is produced when lava with a very large content of water and gases is discharged from a volcano. Those rocks then get filled with tiny bubbles of gas, and as you're seeing there, does obviously float. Well, despite losing 20 kilos, Kim Jong-un is still apparently healthy. The National Intelligence Service says it used artificial intelligence techniques, analysts of a super-resolution video of Kim, and plenty more to investigate the North Korean leader's condition. They say his weight loss is likely the result of his efforts to improve his physical condition, not because of a health condition. The NIS also says Kim has continued his public duties as per usual. Sport now in Afghanistan is set to play another match in the 2020 Cricket World Cup tonight. Celebrations were seen among Afghans both abroad and those still in the country after their recent 131-run win against Scotland. They lost by 5 wickets against Pakistan in a close match yesterday. Now, many thought they wouldn't be able to play after the fall of the country's government and that Taliban takeover. However, there still is uncertainty about the future of female athletes after the women's team was stopped from playing, though there is certainly still a lot of praise for these Afghan cricketers who are continuing to play on the world stage. And staying with cricket, tributes are continuing to flow in after Australian spin bowling great Ashley Mallett died in Adelaide after a battle with cancer. Mallett played 38 tests for Australia, taking a total of 132 wickets. His best single innings coming against Pakistan in 1972, where he took 8 for 59. Ashley Mallett was 76. And now let's go to Ivan and Sarah with a look what's coming up later tonight on WAMN News.
Thanks, Leo. Tonight on WAMN News, plenty of leads and still searching. Police dig further into the disappearance of missing 4-year-old girl Cleo Smith.
Also tonight, Mercy Flight Conundrum, how a Perth travel agent helps West Aussies get home before Christmas. A WAMN News exclusive.
Justice for JC. Protests demanding accountability after police officers cleared of JC's death.
And brick frenzy as Lego's first official store hits Perth. Plus, Dr. Andrew Miller's comment. Join us tonight on the WAMN News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
All right, thanks to both Alvin and Sarah there. Now, there are still many homes in Victoria without power due to that mild weather, and we may see more throughout next week. For more on that and a look at the national map, let's bring in our senior reporter, Darby Travers, live for us tonight. Darby, there's still plenty left for authorities to do.
Good on you, Leo. Yeah, that's right. The massive cleanup continues right across the state after the winds of over 100 kilometres an hour led to trees falling down in parks, on roads and even on houses. SES volunteer Ben Owen was out trying to help others when he got a call from his wife saying a pine tree had fallen on his own property. Thankfully, though, no one was injured. The SES had well over 3,000 calls on Friday, but authorities say thousands still remain without power. The highest wind gusts of 143 kilometres an hour was recorded at Mount William in the Grampians. Winds of just under 120 kilometres an hour were recorded at the Melbourne airport. The normal services have resumed for trains and trams where major delays occurred. This exclusive footage shows the damage in one Melbourne park where some students were walking to school. This other clip shows the impact the weather had on a pot plant. Now, in South Australia, there were over 1,000 calls for help after similar conditions today. There was sunshine across most of the country. We are in for similar conditions also tomorrow as we head to the national map. And Brisbane expecting a partly cloudy day, a top of 23 in Sydney and Canberra, 22 in Melbourne, 19 and heavy clouds down in Hobart, 27 and sunny in Adelaide, 31 in Alice Springs, 18 in Perth and Darwin, heavy rain, a top of 34. So there you have it, Leo, your latest weather forecast for tomorrow. We will try and get back out on the road as soon as the weather clears up. But for now, from the Weather Centre, it's back to you.
All right, Darby Travers live for us tonight. Thank you. And finally tonight, 6 News is proud to announce a major expansion to our website. 6newsau.com has a brand new front page. There it is right now. Doesn't that look good? With the stories automatically updating, so you'll always see the latest headlines when you log on. Well, you don't have to log on. In fact, it is totally free. There's no paywalls, none of that. So it's really good, unlike plenty of other news sites. Now, you'll also notice we have a dedicated fact check section with both the latest editions of our program and written reports, plus explainers on how we do it, from accuracy to staying neutral, and even a look at our rating system, because it's not just as simple as true or false. There is a lot more that goes into it. Now, fact checking is a major part of 6 News, and it's only getting bigger. We're an entirely independent independent outlet, and we'll investigate whatever you want us to look at. At the bottom of all articles are tags, so you can easily find similar stories, and there's a few buttons there you can see where you can immediately press it and share the link onto social media. It means, like with the ABC, Herald Sun, The Age, or any news site you read, you can now go more in depth with reports and see some galleries of images too. As we did earlier this week with our report on Avi Yemeni's confrontation with diners in Melbourne, the video is on our YouTube channel now. We will be posting our full questions posed to people and their full answers so you can make up your own mind. It's kind of like uncensored, but obviously in written form. And we've also made it easier to contact us with direct links to our social pages, so you can DM us or email contact@6newsau.com. And we would love to hear what you think of this, so please use the contact options there to use them to your advantage so we can find out what to improve on. Let us know if there's any bugs, typos, or issues like that. And of course, issues to fact check. So make sure you check it out right now. And that is 6 News for this Sunday evening. You start to date with the latest headlines by heading to our new look website, 6newsau.com, and by following us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Lead. Search 6newsau to find us. I'm Leonardo Puglisi. Thanks for your company. Good night.